Hello and welcome everybody to our next episode in our Pro Performance series. The main topic today is second chance borrowers. My name is Ali Ahmed. I am the Divisional Vice President of Sales here with Rocket Pro, and we're excited to have you. Joining me today, we have the broker owner and founder of Social Mortgage, Michael Hudson. Michael, welcome aboard.
Hey, thanks so much, Ali. I'm super excited to be invited here with you in Rocket Pro, our brokerage social mortgage here in Cleveland, Ohio. We love working with any of our sister city over in Detroit. So,
Beautiful, beautiful. One question before we get going. How's Ohio State doing in the tournament?
let's not get ahead of ourselves here,
All right,
Ali.
we're
All
gonna
right.
move on. We're gonna move on. I just had to jab you real quick. All right, before we get started with the program, I do want to mention our partner promises. This is something that we built a few months ago, and we make sure to incorporate it into everything that we do. Today's broker promise that fits into this pro performance is number one, it's your business who you do business with. We want to make sure we can support you guys in every possible way, and this is just another one of those avenues. So I do want to discuss kind of what we're going to be looking at today. We want to define what a second chance borrower is. We want to identify some common scenarios with second chance borrowers. Make sure you guys can apply some best practices for building referral relationships, especially with those CPAs, the builders, the attorneys. And we want to put together a simple process for you that you can rinse and repeat to be able to go out there and win new partnerships and new business. So let's jump right into it. First thing we want to do here, Michael, we want to define what a second chance borrower is. What do you consider a second chance borrower?
Great question, Ali. To me, a second chance borrower is somebody who's still looking for a mortgage, wants to buy a home, maybe refinance, but they just got faced with a recent disruption in their finances. It could be somebody who isn't necessarily a bad borrower, but just feels kind of bad about their borrowing situation. Example of that is somebody who just went through a divorce. It might be really emotional. It's a difficult situation. They may not have the confidence to go and buy on their own, and they just need some great guidance.
Yeah, that makes sense. Why do you think these types of borrowers are overlooked so much?
There's a lot of folks out there who just simply don't know their options. Mortgage brokers, what's nice about us is we got so many darn options. We can help a lot of different folks out. And so a lot of these clients just find themselves in difficult situations. Say they're going through a divorce. They just got denied by a bank because they said their self-employment income isn't long enough. Well, they're going to kind of feel like they're not going to be able to get a new mortgage, and they're going to feel like they don't have any options. The truth is, banks' overlays and guidelines oftentimes aren't the same as ours, especially with Rocket Pro. You guys don't need the same income history for self-employed as somebody who applies with, say, a regional bank. So those type of borrowers are exactly what we're looking at. Folks who just don't know their options, who maybe feel like they are kind of out of the game, and we just want to re-engage them and get them to want to buy a home with us.
Okay. What do you think the misconceptions are with brokers about these types of clients?
Yeah, a lot of brokers I talk to, they make it sound like it's a lot harder than it really is. Somebody who maybe has a couple late payments because they recently had some disruptions to their credit, might have a lower credit score, 620, let's call it on an FHA loan. Well, 620 FHA loan is no harder to close than a 700 FHA loan, assuming they're both approve eligible. The only difference is just the emotional aspect. So I think a lot of times with a broker, they're going to think, hey, there's a lot to this. I got to get divorce decrees. I need to outline all this extra documentation. And because of that, they're telling themselves a story. And that story is not reality. These borrowers, they do matter. They are going to be loyal to you. And I think it just really comes down to recognizing that a little bit of a lower credit score isn't going to make the job harder.
Yep, that makes sense. Now you mentioned it already, but we want to kind of define a lot of these borrowers are already working with some type of professional out there in the industry. Who are these professionals that are typically working with these borrowers and how can we get in touch with them?
Yeah, there's a handful. So first and foremost, you're going to have an attorney. Attorneys are going to be involved in divorce proceedings. They're going to help actually put together the paperwork, adjudicate who's going to own which properties, and kind of distribute things along with the judge. And so, a lot of times, these clients are going to be speaking to a professional. These attorneys are going to give them guidance. Hey, within the next 3 years, you need to refinance and put the property fully into your name and get rid of the ex-spouse off of the previous mortgage. A lot of these clients are also working with CPAs. I have a great client just went through this situation. Well, guess what? She runs an incredible at-home nursing business. So her accountant's been advising her on how to get her finances cleaned up now that she's a single mother of five. And in that type of situation, she's getting advice. She has people telling her exactly what to do. They're in her corner. But a lot of the advice she's getting is coming from the frame of that event. And what do I mean by that? Hey, something just happened that was emotionally unenjoyable. And those clients, a lot of times, are coming from that experience feeling a little down. And so, yeah, they have people in their corner, but the folks they're working with are related to the situation. We're a little bit different. Us mortgage folks, we're going to be able to actually kind of put the pin in everything and help give them whether it's payment flexibility or new home, which is kind of the next chapter. So we can put um, to rest what just occurred with the previous professionals and start with us as the new professional on that next leg of the journey of moving on in their lives.
Okay. So we're talking post bankruptcy, we're talking divorce, we're talking credit rebuild, that type of thing.
Yep.
So what's the ultimate outcome that we're looking for from helping these types of second chance borrowers?
The real big idea is you want to get a client who's going to feel great with you, right? And by working with a second chance borrower, let's call it as it is. First time buyers are awesome. You help somebody buy their first house, they're very loyal. Well, if you help somebody buy their first home after, say, bankruptcy, they're going to be incredibly loyal for you. And we use the term in this industry all the time like, hey, they're your client for life. Follow up with them every 6 months. Make sure you do a mailer campaign to your past clients and keep in front of them. Well, guess what? When you help somebody buy their first house after a bankruptcy, they're never going to forget you. You don't need to send mailers for them to remember how big of an impact you had in their lives. So I think the biggest defining factor is you do get the loyalty. Beyond that, you also build a referral relationship. I think we just spoke about this a minute ago. You have attorneys involved. You have CPAs involved. If somebody goes through a bankruptcy, heck, there's a lot of paperwork involved. And so when you help those clients, when you walk through their process and make them happy, the attorneys are going to know it. They're going to hear about it. And what ends up happening is now you got a referral relationship opportunity. You can call that divorce attorney. You can call that CPA that gave them great advice. And you can share exactly how you're impacting your client's life. And guess what? Now you're building a network of legal professionals that want to refer business to you. And then finally, the best part in my book is you're creating friends in your community. If you're helping people in your own backyard, if you're helping somebody get through this major life event, you're doing what I'd say something that's like good karma. And it's going to come back to you threefold. If I help somebody with their new mortgage, not only can I get a referral from the attorney, but I'm also going to be the talk of town on Thanksgiving when they're hosting their first dinner with all the family back in the house. And that really does lead to even more business. So, yeah, selfishly, you're going to get referrals, but it's also the right thing to do. And then on top of that, you're going to have people that are going to become raving fans of you. Hey, a 5-star review is awesome, but somebody that will literally tell everyone they know how much you impacted their lives, that's even bigger. And that's exactly what you're going to get as a result of this.
Okay. Now, going through this, when we speak to our broker partners, I feel like most LOs will have no problem walking a borrower through the process start to finish, being able to handle that emotional burden that some of these borrowers are facing. The problem that we're seeing with a lot of partners right now is that they're not able to connect with these professionals. Now, this is something that you do inside of your shop with your team. From your experience, what are these attorneys and real estate agents, what are they looking for in a referral partner?
Oh, that's a good question. It's tough to just define it to one thing, but if I were, I would say it's your communication skills. If you're dealing with post bankruptcy, as an example, or even a divorce, you're in a situation where somebody has an emotional pain associated with what just occurred. I had a client, her name was Ashley. She had a giant amount of fear of buying a house after a bankruptcy. And the reason why is she just finally got all of her debt paid off. Well, guess what? To convince somebody to go take out a mortgage to buy another house, that's scary. That's going back into debt. And to be able to communicate clearly with that client, make them feel comfortable, make them feel like they're so worthy and that this is something they should do, that's huge. And attorneys recognize that. Professionals recognize other professionals. They want to work with somebody who is emotionally intelligent. They want to work with somebody that is able to make a difficult situation for them, because call it as it is, it's still tough for the attorneys to work through these cases. You're making that easier. And if you can make it easier for them, you're already doing 90% of the work of building a relationship with these other professionals.
Okay. Now, this is one that comes up pretty often. How does a broker add value without crossing those compliance lines, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, compliance is where we live or die in this industry. I put it like this. It's easy. You got a mutually beneficial relationship. You don't need to put together a lot of paperwork. The big trick is just making sure you're not doing some sort of quid pro quo. Not putting yourself in a position where you're making it about money exchanging hands between the two professionals. As long as you focus in on what you actually can provide value wise and what your expertise is, it's going to shine through on its own. A lot of attorneys already have a referral network. In fact, good ones already do. A lot of CPAs already have a referral network. They already do. Even financial planners. And so the idea is these folks do refer out regularly because it's an expectation in their business. If you're a financial professional, if you're a legal professional, people are going to ask you for guidance and advice and referrals, and you need to be able to provide that quickly. So there isn't necessarily compliance risk as long as you're not speaking it into existence. My advice is to be excellent at what you do. Have a great plan of attack on how you actually build the relationships and be a professional at all times, white glove treatment. And if you do that, you'll become the obvious choice for all of these professionals. They'll refer to you and they'll expect nothing back because guess what? You're actually making their lives easier. And call me crazy. If you can make somebody else's life easier, they're going to want to do more business with you, period.
100%. Now, when attacking these relationships or these CPAs and possible referral sources, what are the mistakes that brokers should avoid when trying to build these relationships?
Oh wow, Ollie, you got great questions. The way I look at it is you can't wing it. You have to have a plan of attack. What does that mean? It means you really need to know exactly what you're getting yourself into. If you're going to be working with clients who just went through what would be considered an emotionally distressing experience, you have to have a script. You have to have talking points. You need to have your 60-second elevator pitch prepared for these professionals to share why working with you is going to improve their business, make their lives easier, and why you should replace an existing referral partner. Another big one is you can't expect this to be automatic. Referrals may come from the client you just helped automatically. Why? You just changed their life. But those legal professionals, hey, you got to stay in front of them. Why? At the end of the day, it does take work. It does take time to build a relationship. You got to spend the time. You got to talk to these professionals. You got to talk about more than just the clients, maybe life, who they are, what matters to them, how you can serve them better. Get to know the other folks in the office, the secretaries. And I think that's really important is you got to get past the gatekeepers. So guess what? You got to put in the work necessary to get the results. And then finally, just don't overcomplicate it. A lot of folks think this is going to be really, really hard. It's really difficult. That's not the case. And if you share that expectation with these legal professionals, how difficult it is or how tough it is, oh, I got to go through a bankruptcy paperwork, I got to go through the divorce decree, and you make your burden someone else's, you're going to actually overcomplicate things, and it's going to be difficult to work with you. So my suggestion, just don't wing it. Make it super easy on the legal professionals to transition to working with you. And then more importantly of all is just put in the work that's necessary. And if you do that, you can succeed with this relationship and these referral partners.
100%. I think about, I mean, I was a previous LO. I know all these LOs that are out there. I mean, how often do we go through our objections that we hear all the time? How often do we go through our presentation pitch on, certain refinance cash outs where you draw the T chart and you do all those things?
Yep.
It's the same situation here. The more times you do it, the more comfortable you're going to be with your pitch. So practice makes perfect. Definitely winging it is a big, big mistake. So
Yep.
I agree with you 100% there.
Yeah.
Now, I do want to put pen to paper. You mentioned it a little bit a few seconds ago, but I want to break it down for the LOs that are out there. You said you had three simple steps of how to kind of get this done. If
Oh
you want
yeah.
to run through it again.
No, yeah, 100%. The way I look at this is you have to have a plan of attack. And I do. I've been doing this for years. In a past life, I actually ran a department that all we did was call out real estate agents to get referrals. And then I transitioned this to attorneys. I transitioned this to CPAs. I transitioned this to builders. And so if you do this process, mark my words, you'll get the results. It does take time. So step one, very simple. Build a list of prospects you want to reach out to. You got to have a call list. You have to have a list of folks you want to reach out to. Yeah, you can email them. Yeah, you can find them on social media. But the big idea is you want to call these folks. So my suggestion, go into AI, go online, start looking up a list of local attorneys in your area. And guess what? If they specialize in divorce, even better. and start building out that list. You are going to want to start with at least 10, 20, maybe even 30 names that are inside your state, inside your local community that you can start to call. And then from there, just put together a script. And this is super important. A lot of folks will write a script after their first few calls. My recommendation, start with a script. Put together a great introduction, put together your 60-second elevator pitch. What's the value that you bring? And guys, let's call it as it is. The value we bring is the lending options we have. The value we bring is the fact that we can help folks without overlays. Builders have overlays, 640 credit FHA. If you're not above 640, you're out. Well, that's not a real thing. We can go down to 580 with Rocket. So that just isn't a real guideline. And so making sure you have a pitch on what to share and a script of how you can bring value to these companies is huge. And these professionals is huge. Because guess what? We have more flexibility, not just on credit, income calculations. We have more flexibility when it comes to navigating child support and understanding how that actually works. So as long as you put in the work, build the script, you're already halfway there. And then finally, this is my recommendation, is make sure you have a great call block. What does that look like? It means you commit yourself to a period of time you're going to take action. This is super important. You can have the names, you can have the script, but you might not take the actions. And the actions are everything. So my recommendation, create a block for yourself. All right, I'm going to commit to making 30 dials today. I'm going to send out an email. I'm going to make sure I add these attorneys on social media, LinkedIn, and I'm going to shoot them a direct message there. And I'm going to do it between 9 to 11 a.m. every single morning to start my day, just like eating breakfast cereal. And if you do this process, you're going to start building a feedback loop. What do I mean by that? So, Ali, what happens is you're going to call these folks your first week, you're going to get a ton of objections, and you're going to realize, hey, I got some referrals, or I got stonewalled at fill in the blank. And then from there, you can refine your script. You can go back, rewrite it, practice those objections like you said you were doing, right? How to overcome a spousal objection. In this case, how to overcome the gatekeeper, the secretary, how to get somebody to commit to you. And what happens is over time, you get this effect where your script gets better, your pitch gets better. And as long as you stay persistent and you keep doing this week after week, you will end up building the relationships. You will end up getting the referrals. People will know you by name when you call, and you will get the results. Now, the big thing, it takes about 30 to 60 days to get any results. So this isn't like, hey, I did it for a week and it didn't work. No, it's I did it for a week. I found out what I'm failing at, my objections I couldn't overcome. I'm practicing those. I'm going again the next week. Another week after that, you're doing the same thing. A week after that, you're doing the same thing. And it's exactly how I started my brokerage. Within 60 days, I was getting 14 fundings per month from this exact play. So it's very easy to do. It's scalable. You can teach people with these scripts if you have LOs in your office. The idea is this is an actionable item that you can execute on. Simply build the list, write the script, and then have a block of attack and follow up on that. So that would be my recommendation of the 3 steps to get the best results possible in terms of reaching out to these professionals, Holly.
100%. They say, what do they say? 90% of sales are made after the fifth follow-up. So
Yeah.
it's very, very important to stay consistent. This is not a 1 week play. This is something that you will need to do week in and week out. And before you know it, you'll start to see the results, and it'll be kind of a recurring thing for you to bring in these additional referrals. So it's a big play.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it is a follow-up game. Let's call it as it is.
Absolutely. So we went through today. We tried to keep it short and sweet for you guys. We were able to define who second chance borrowers are. We identified some common scenarios for you. We put together a simple best practice for building these relationships, and then obviously a simple process that you can rinse and repeat to be able to go out there and implement into your business today and hopefully start to see referrals within 30 to 60 days. Mike, run us through those actionable commitments one more time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Build your list. This is where it takes a little bit of work, but the good news is the internet is full of awesome opportunities to pull up lists. So build your list, 10 to 20 folks. Write your script. What's your 60-second elevator pitch? What's the 4 to 5 value props you can pitch inside of a minute? And then create a call block. Start making the calls. My recommendation, do it today. If you hear this right now, you're listening, start doing this today. Mark my words. If you fall through on this, you rinse and repeat week after week, you will get the results. You will have a self-generated business. You will have professionals sending business to you. And I believe that's the best way to run a brokerage. So, Ali, thank you. This is awesome. I'm excited.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you for joining us and sharing some of the wisdom that you've built over the years. Don't forget, folks, next week we do have another episode in our Pro Performance series where we're going to be talking about the 4 broker plays after Ignite 26. So make sure to tune in. We appreciate you again for joining us. Thank you. We'll see you next time.
Take care.